Welcome you all to the second day of WTF 20, world's biggest 3-day digital conference for artists. WTF is brought to you by PrintShop by Designhill, which is one of the fastest growing creative print-on-demand marketplace. I would also like to thank our associating partners, Illustrators Artists Club, Graphic Designers Club, Pattern Designers Club, Typography Designers Club, Logo Designers Club, and our online partners, Milan Art Institute, Georgia, USA. So moving ahead, let me introduce our panelists for today. We have Jessica Stahl, who's joining us for Amsterdam, Netherlands. Jessica is a Tinder swiping, dramatically stunning, and clearly humble comic artist behind the Instagram account Vanilla Cool Dance. Passionate about breaking down taboos and empowering women, she creates web comics on a wide range of topics, from the female body to tragedy of modern dating and sex. These chronicles of her life and the lives of many have been featured in publications like Huffington Post and BuzzFeed. Jessica, go ahead, say hi.
Hi, everyone. Nice
and
to
also
see
with
you
us today. So also with us today is Marques Talita, who is a talented Brazilian graphic designer from the city of Recife. Marques has worked with many marquee brands like Forever 21, Ipanema, to name a few. Today, she is joining us from Amsterdam, Netherlands, also a graphic designer, illustrator, and a strong businesswoman, all rolled into one. That's Marques Talita for you guys. Meanwhile, let me introduce Shie. We have Shie with us as our third panelist for today, who is joining us from Doha, Qatar. The journey of pattern designer for her started as a DIY project for her wedding. Prior to that, she was an interior designer. Her business team consists of Shie herself, her husband, and their boss baby. The trio lives in Doha and serves clients all across the globe. Thank you so much, guys, for taking out time and joining us here on the second day of WTF 20.
Hello.
Yes. So we have her back. Let me just ask Marques to say hello to all our audience. I already rolled out her intro. Marques, please go ahead. Say hello.
Oh, hi. Sorry.
Yes. So we are good to go, right?
Yes.
Yes. So guys, today's panel discussion is about how to keep reinventing yourself as an artist. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to take up as many as we can. Please drop them in the question section. So before we start, let us look at what PrintShop by Designhill and WTF is all about. So Jessica, let me start with you first.
Yeah.
Is reinventing a process to stay relevant in the market, or a normal course of evolving as an artist works just as fine?
I can speak a bit from my own experience.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm a comic artist, and so I personally, when it comes to reinventing myself, it's been quite a natural process for me. I think that I have one style, so I may draw comics, but I really they're basically glorified line drawings, and I'm not necessarily so skilled in taking on other styles. So the way I reinvent myself is more natural, and it's more in the kind of the opinions in the topics that I want to talk about, and also taking a look at offline versus online. That was kind of my transformation, whereas maybe some other of the guests here do it a bit differently.
Okay. So Marques, let me take it to you. I mean, do you see it as a reinventing process of evolving, or is evolution as an artist goes on in its own?
I think we are always changing as person, so I think it's really important to keep reinvent yourself as artist too, because for me, when I started doing lettering, I was completely different style. We use it to do more black and white designs and everything, and I was changing my designing style, like trying to learn new things, because first I don't really like to be in my comfort zone, so I try to try different things, and needed to keep up with the market. So I think it's really important that if you change as a person, you change as an artist too, because it's completely connected with yourself.
Okay. So, Shay, what's your opinion on that? Do you completely reinvent yourself over the period of time, or you just evolve in your domain and your niche?
In my experience, it's both. While I evolve myself naturally, I also try to find ways of trying to reinvent myself, um, because I'm influenced by something that I see or experience, and also by people that I encounter with. So it's a natural process, and at the same time, it's for me, from my experience, it's also um, like my way of trying to schedule myself. I have to do things out of the normal way, so that for me, it's part of my learning and growth as an artist.
Mhm. Okay, I got your point. So, Talita, my next question goes to you. Does reinventing have to be accompanied by a career break, or is it an ongoing process?
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
Yeah, I can repeat it
It
for you.
was cutting here.
What I mean to ask is, in your opinion, is reinventing your niche or your focus of your art, does it need to be accompanied by a career break, or it can be an ongoing process?
I think it's part of the process. I think it's completely connected. If you think like, now I need to reinvent myself and change my niche and everything, and change how you are, I think it makes things completely more harder. Because it feels like I do the different things every day. I try to learn different things every day. So I try to put this in my art.
Shay, what's your opinion about that?
For me, I think it's part of the process. Um, you just reinvent yourself, and then you go with it, and then along the way, if you feel like um, you you don't have to stop.
Okay.
You still go on with what you're doing.
Okay. So, Jessica, have you ever taken a career break to reinvent yourself, or, just to take a step back and, be better at game? Have you ever done that?
I have unintentionally taken a 1.5-year career break, where I was, when I first moved to the Netherlands, I did not have a job. And actually that's when I started drawing for the first time ever. So that's actually how Vanilla Quotance got started. So as an art director, I've gone through a lot of different transformations in reinventing myself. I'm definitely here speaking on behalf of my illustration and Vanilla Quotance specifically. So, but that was born out of a career break and was born out of kind of just saying, fuck it, let's just try something and put it out in the world. And the style has definitely evolved from the very first post that I did, which was just a picture of a, sketch on a, not color corrected at all. So I think for me, it was more, mine was born from a career break, but I definitely don't think that you would need a career break to continue to evolve that.
Okay. So Shay, let me ask you this question. So do you think, reinventing and evolving in your form of art, it needs to be an academic process, or do you do it while working at job, or is it mix of both? What do you recommend?
For me, it should be. It's ideally it should be a mix of both. Because academically, you learn the techniques, you learn the correct process, and then on the good side of it, on the other side of it, doing it while learning while doing it is another way of learning, because you will have failures along the way. Everybody will experience that, and from those you will learn, and then you can assess both, and then that's the way how it naturally goes.
Okay, so Jessica, what would you have to say about it to our audience?
Sure. Yeah. I think it goes both ways. I think that it's kind of like doing the tutorials or learning and continuing to learn new tools that creates inspiration in another way that you can then take back to your work, whether or not you need to say goodbye to everything you were doing and that's at the core of who you are as a designer or an illustrator. I don't think that's the case, but I think nothing gets me more excited as learning a new program or learning, different things, animation, and then you take that energy and bring it back into your own work.
Okay, so we have Marques back here. So Marques, what we were discussing is that in a need to evolve in your form of art and to reinvent kind of thing. Do you need to take an academic course sometimes, or you just do it while at job, or you just mix both of them at all point of time to evolve? What is your take on that?
For me, it works doing both. I do love to take some online courses to learn new programs, new techniques, or like new things that are completely different from like lettering. Like I can learn new things on illustration or photography or whatever that can bring in new ideas and new creativity forms for me. But also my works, like, because I think practicing it is a better way to get better in something. So for me, it works with both.
Okay, so let me start this question with you again, Marques. When people start out, they don't have a particular niche to follow, or they're just starting out learning stuff and interacting with people. So what do you have to say to people to find out their niche along the way when they start?
I think it's really natural that it happens. You kind of doesn't really need to force anything. If you like to do illustration in a kind of style of thing, of course, you're going to follow more people that do the same of you, understand more the public of that are doing the same thing of you that you are doing. So I don't think forcing or like trying to understand exactly what is your niche is something. For me, just happened really natural. People started to come to look for my work because they liked the style of my lettering and everything. And I think this is like the best way to grow. I think is just to be natural, just to do your personality, to do your own work in your own style, the style you like the most. and then people will follow you, and then you're going to find your right way in the middle of the way, you know.
Okay. So Jessica, how did you find your niche? I mean, was it some sort of an inclination towards somebody you followed, or did it happen over the period of time? Or, you know, it wasn't, it came from within that, you know, I should follow this sort of an art I should follow and I should get better at?
I actually think that when I was when I was in that period of unemployment, I was taking courses on how to draw really correct illustrations. I was also trying to better myself in typography, in hand-drawn typography. And that was never something that really came naturally to me. So that was something that I had to really work hard to do. And then what my account does is I don't have to work at all. So it's super basic drawings. But the content comes really naturally to me. So I think I kind of fell into it. And I think that if you can find a creative outlet that comes super naturally to you, that you get joy from, and it is not, you know, I love to continue to grow and explore, but that sense that it just comes from you, and that you don't get sick of it because it's so natural to you. That's how I found my niche. And yeah, it sounds also similar to your story as well.
Okay. So Shie, what's your story? What are your experiences?
Actually, my Sison Designs account on Instagram started as a lettering typography account. And then some of my friends told me, how come you're just doing black and white work? Why not put color to it? So I eventually ended up doing like a watercolor lettering. And then I eventually found some accounts doing like florals, watercolor florals. And I just got like astounded by it. So what I did was I tried it on, and I felt like it just became natural to me to do watercolor illustrations and florals. So my lettering account became now an illustration and floral design account.
Okay. So let me ask this to you, Marques. You know, what do we feel during the course of dealing with the artist through PrintShop? You know, a lot of people ask us this, you know, what are the challenges, you know, that you face in your profile and form of art while you try to reinvent yourself or evolve yourself?
Ooh, well, that's something. I was really afraid like to try different things and post it, because when I started doing something, people went to my profile because they liked that style. So I'm always changing, and I try to change my work too, because otherwise I get crazy because I'm doing the same thing all the time. So I started like with baby steps, I think, putting like, I use it to do just black and white lettering too. And then I started to put like some colors here and there. And then at some point I was like, if people are here because they like my work, they're going to like my changes too. And they're going to understand that I try to do new styles, new things. So I started just posting and trusting that they would like also this new kind of style of work. And it worked. It was like kind of shocking for some of them, but most really liked it because bring more colors, more life, more texture, more things to be inspired in. So it was like really challenging to really not let the fear take care of me and not posting things I really wanted to. But then I just relaxed and I was like, this is me. I think it's really natural when your art is really connected with yourself. So you can really avoid that. So if you change, you can just post it and people will like, I think.
Okay. So Jessica, let me take this to you. So what are the challenges that you faced in discovering your form of art and, you know, then reinventing at it and evolving at it?
What are the challenges that I faced? I think that you can get distracted by what other people in your kind of artist so I follow a lot of comic artists, for instance, and it's funny because, you know, I probably also started the same account at the same time that a lot of our comic artists started the same account. So you can also kind of see where things are, we're starting to creep in a similar direction or something. And I think it's always finding that balance of staying true to yourself. I also sometimes have that fear that, you know, people started following the account for a certain style and you don't want, or a certain way of thinking. And I don't want to lose that, that core. But, you know, I have also, yeah, if I'm going to do this 365 days a year, the tablet's easier than necessarily always taking a photo and scanning it into Photoshop and doing some color correction there. So I am experimenting with new tools to make me more flexible and to also stay current. But I think just continuously navigating, I think I go back and forth between doing real watercolor and using the digital tablet, and I'm still on that journey to figure out where I want to take it to. So yes, I'm mid reinventing myself.
Okay, that's good. So Shie, what's your opinion on that? What are the challenges that you faced and how you overcame them while reinventing in your form of art and evolving through it?
In my work, because my account is mostly florals, watercolor florals now, and some illustrations. So I also have some works that are lettering based and some that are pattern based. So I cannot put them all in just one account. So I risked in creating 2 more accounts related to those different niches.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that my main account is the one that's driving more followers and clients. So I'm basically more concentrated on that I lose time to concentrate on the other 2.
Okay, so let me ask this question to you first, Jessica. Do you think that following an inspiration, like you mentioned that, you know, you follow a lot of accounts and you take inspiration, do you think that, you know, at times taking inspiration is a stronger influence on your form of art? Or do you think that, you know, that kind of an inclination and your expression in your art should come from within?
I think, you know, when I first started, I think after this, I'm giving a talk on tips of doodling, and you know, I should hope that whoever is joining it feels welcome to use those tips. So, you know, when I started, I took some Skillshare classes or saw how other comic artists, their thought process. And I'm sure, you know, in the beginning, I maybe started doing those techniques or asking myself those questions. So you may go kind of in a certain area, but that's all while you're kind of figuring your own path out. And I think that's how a lot of things are done, be it where you kind of look up to somebody or respect somebody and you kind of try to emulate them, but that then naturally and hopefully quickly evolves into how you want, what things you want to share in your work and what messages you want to get across in your work and your own distinct style.
Okay, so Marques, how do you maintain that balance, you know, when taking an inspiration from certain people and, you know, having your own sort of individuality out there, not getting affected by those inspirations?
This is something I always my students in my workshops. There is a thin line between inspiration and copy that I always love to talk about, that because it's really natural that sometimes you feel so much inspired by someone that you like, that you just got the same feeling of the art from the other artist. What I always say is, like, it's better to have more than one inspiration for one work you are doing, you know, like follow a lot of people, see lots of different work, because in my mind it works like that. If you're like doing a lettering project and you just follow one artist, you really love the artist's style, it's natural that your style starts to be the same as this artist. So if you have like different inspirations, so you can add a little bit of this artist, a little bit of the other artist. So, and then you give a little bit of the touch of your personality. That's really important because it's your own work. So in the beginning, I know it's really hard because you don't have like lots of references and everything. So this is why I always say that it's really important to have like a lot of references in this first moment and the whole lifetime of an artist, because you can always bring something new and add your personality, add your own style, add what you think is going to be better in your illustration or lettering project or whatever. So I think it's really important to, always looking for different styles and different things, not only one person.
Okay. So Shie, what do you feel? I mean, following a lot of inspirations, does it help you in evolving as a person and evolving your individuality, or does it influence you in following these inspirations over the period of time?
I think Marques and Jessica already mentioned about being inspired and at the same time creating your own style from it. And I think it's natural for any artist, for any art enthusiast who is starting out. It's just natural that you are inspired by someone. And then from there, you feel like bringing out something that will create that individuality from you, that will create your own style, and then that will become your source of following in your online presence.
I'm gonna take the questions from audience which have got upvoted. So Chris James is asking us, how do you build an audience when you have a unique style, but the trends aren't in alignment, and it just doesn't get well received? So there is always a difficulty, when you have a certain specific niche, and then to market it and reach out to the audiences, and also to have certain clients who are specifically inclined with such kind of artists, and give their business to them. So what do you have to say about that? Let me take Marques's opinion on that first, and then I'll go to Jessica and Shie.
Really hard actually, because when you're different, it's good because you're not following the same, what everybody's doing. So it's like a different thing. So you can really create a new niche. But I do understand that's hard to start growing because, what is famous is doing better. But I do believe you can just trust in your own style, and it has enough people outside to like different things, and maybe you can create a different niche. Maybe you can mix a little bit with something that is really trending to see if you can get the attention of the other niche to your own style. I think this is something you can really try to do. But I would keep your own personality and believe in that.
Okay. So Shie, what's your opinion on that?
I think you have to try to post what you feel is in between. Like you're able to acquire followers because of a certain style or niche that you're already doing and at the same time, which is also attracting clients for your work. You cannot just concentrate on one arena. You have to somehow you have to study about it. Like in my case, before my account started as a lettering account, and it really didn't build too much following. But when I shifted to illustration and design, specifically florals, I got a lot of following, and at the same time, it also allowed me to build a client base. So even if I miss doing a lot of lettering work, because my goal was to profit from what I do and from what I post, so I continued doing watercolor. So I gained both. I gained following at the same time. I gained lots of clients from that.
Okay. So what's your opinion on that, Jessica?
Yeah, I think it's really difficult. I think it depends on what your goal is. You say, how do you build an audience? That's a bit different question than how do you build clients. So I think it depends really on what the goal of your account is. If it's just for yourself, then I think you know, I would be careful to stray too far from that, because then you're going to lose the whole point of doing it in the first place. But at the same time, I think, yeah, I agree to look maybe at what is kind of something a bit more middle of the scale, that you can kind of bring people in, but that it's not so far off that people will be surprised when you start putting your own really unique style. And I do think that maybe not to the growth, but to the benefit of a really unique style, is that one day, hopefully, people will really seek out your style and seek out you specifically for what you can offer. And then maybe some other, it could also be kind of trying to find the right exposure and the right way to, yeah, because it's also, I'm sorry, I'm reading your question, how to build an audience when you have a unique style, but the trends aren't in alignment. So maybe it's also finding kind of, I'm also just thinking here, you know, like-minded small magazine publications, or like more niche outlets that maybe you could collaborate with to get more exposure for your work. So maybe some tips.
Okay, so we have got one more question which is upvoted with 9 votes here in the question section. Do you have any resources that you could recommend to beginners? Shay, let me ask you this first.
I just posted on my Instagram. I'm sorry, on my website. I created a blog, and I have some resources there that I included, specifically Skillshare classes. They were very helpful to me, especially with what I am doing right now, from being a watercolor artist and trying this new niche of being a surface pattern designer. So for those out there who are art enthusiasts, specifically in that type of field, then I just created a blog with resources for that aspect.
Okay, so Marques, what's your opinion on that? I mean, would you recommend some resources to the beginners who are asking the question here?
Yeah, I do have in my website too, like I have a material for who wants to start to doing like lettering. So I have a material that I did teaching people how to do brush lettering. That is like the basics to start, is like a really good way. But I also would recommend them to look for good online courses too. It's really important. Skillshare has a lot of different things, really good courses from teachers like Martina Flor, and also other online platforms like Domestika. There's more in Spanish if you don't speak English. So I think those things at first are more accessible for everybody. But if you have also the opportunity to do a presential workshop, is really an amazing opportunity and a different way to do. And if you are learning for someone that is already in the field, it's always better.
Okay, so Jessica, please help our audience with your tips and the resources that you would like to recommend them to start with.
Yeah, I mean, I can't sing Skillshare's praises enough. I completely agree with everyone else here. They have so many different courses, you know, as another comic artist, of course, by Mari Andrew, the account by Mari Andrew. She has a Skillshare course that's kind of what got me started. And they're from really talented people, and not only on the technical skills, but also on the way you approach or think about things. So I definitely recommend it. I don't have any resources myself, but I'm giving a presentation after this, so maybe that also is but furthermore, not on my account personally.
So that's correct. Let me add to that, Jessica. After this panel discussion is over, we are going to put this entire panel discussion and 3 days of WTF 20 on our official YouTube channel of Designhill, you know, where people can refer it to, they can see the recordings, and where you can also refer to people the questions they pose to you where you have already answered them, or let's say Marques and Shay has already answered them. So it's kind of a lifetime shelf property which is always there on YouTube, where you can refer to people to, and where also from people see you and they get back to your profile and know more about you or DM you probably. So we have one more question that is up here. Let me ask this one to you, Jessica, first. People are asking us, sometimes while being on social media and marketing your profiles and your art form on social media, you tend to give in to audience. I mean, you do stuff around which your audience might be liking. Do you feel you kind of lose your form of art, your form of niche, while thinking about the audience and always thinking about getting more clients?
I think it's a really valid question. I think it's really important to stay close to your core. I think that if I were doing the account for audience growth, maybe I would have done it differently, or maybe I would not do it anymore. I think every time an algorithm changes, then you would be questioning. So I think you have to do it for yourself. But I definitely think what I learned, or what I felt kind of in the beginning, was if people were finding about me in certain publications, it was probably about dating or about sex, and then they would get to my account and it was about everything. So I think that making sure that that you're kind of consistent in terms of, I think what I try to do now is have enough variety, but also that if somebody found me in a certain platform, that they would recognize it within the account. So so that you don't immediately get somebody following you and then unfollowing you because it's not kind of what they came there for. And I'm lucky because I like to draw about dating and sex. So regardless of why they came there, it's something that's a big passion of mine. So it's quite in line. But I think it's a struggle, and I think it's a choice, and just don't get lost in what people want to see from you, because ultimately it's you doing it every day, and you have to be happy and find kind of what you want to share with your voice.
Okay. So Shie, what is your opinion on that? I mean, do you ever feel the urge to give in to creating some sort of an art which is most liked by people and builds up social media audience, or do you always think that you should stick to your niche, that whatever audience is coming to your profile is relevant?
For me, I want to, and it's ideal to stick to what I love to do, because otherwise there's no sense of me creating all of these just to please. If what I'm doing right now is already pleasing the kind of following that I have, as well as the client base that I have, then it's, for me, that's okay. If I go out and then try to create something out of the box that will be my first time to do, just because someone or some people will tell me, why not try to do this, then it's like whatever I'm doing, it's not in purpose anymore. So I think it's still better to stick with your style, reinvent it, evolutionize with it, and then from there you grow with it.
Okay, that sounds great. So Jessica, let me ask this question to you. It has also got voted a lot. So how do you always stay motivated to create art every day, in spite of maybe work for some client only and create that form of art and then post it on your social media, or let's just say work for an agency and once that work is done, you showcase it. Let's say, hi, guys, this is my recent artwork that I have created. So what is your motivation out there to create art every day?
I did it the first year every day. I think now I probably average at 4 or 5 times a week. For me, I started drawing as a form of therapy for myself. So it was really important for me to do it every day because it helped me change how I viewed my life. Of course, I was also not working at the time, so it was a lot easier to post every day. And so, of course, when you are busy and you're going to work all day and you forgot to do a post, I think you should also forgive yourself and not force yourself to do it every day. But I do find that For me, it's a bit of a muscle. So the more I do it, the easier it is for me to be more creative or dig deeper into certain areas or to find the humor in everyday things. And the longer I go without posting something or making something, then it takes me a little bit longer to get back into it. And yeah. Having said that, though, if you take time off and then something happens, such as, you know, the last week, I think everyone's lives changed dramatically with current affairs, and I think I now have pages upon pages of content. So I think you should also use those moments of inspiration to get as much content down as you can, and then you can always share it. You know, you can stockpile it and share it and distribute it for further and for moments when you're maybe feeling a little less inspired.
Okay, that's good to hear. And let me just share it with you guys that, you know, recently we have also found that a lot of artists who have profiles on PrintShop are also uploading art which is around creating awareness about coronavirus that has affected the world around. So this is the recent trend that we have seen. So I think that's a good way to say that, you know, artists, they find inspiration around the current affairs and they always stay motivated to work around them, and, you know, not just to create art for the clients or the agency, you know, just to create it for the society and just to give back. So let me take this question to you, Marques. What is your motivation to create art every day, and not just for the clients or for the agency?
The same. I use it to create art every day in the first year, I think. It was just my way of relaxing, to get out from my graphic design work that I needed to do. So I started doing some lettering projects. But at some point, I felt really pressed with social media, because I felt that I needed to post it every day. Otherwise, people would forget me or whatever, and they won't. So at some point, I just decided to bring back the love of creating. So today, I just really feel when I'm feeling creative and do some art for my Instagram, for my social media. Of course, I put in priority the work that I need to do to my clients and everything. And when I feel like really inspired and feel relaxed and feel really happy to create it, I do it. I don't press myself anymore to create every day, to create as much as I want. I think a lot of artists started to feel like really pressed in social media, and then they started to just to create anything because they needed to post it, and they don't feel the pleasure to do what they're doing. And we do what we do because we love what we do. So it doesn't make any sense to just press, you know, keep pressing ourselves to do something just because we need to post. So this is how I keep myself creative. I try just to respect myself, to feel I'm happy, and I really want to share something. I feel like I do. Sometimes I do like twice, three, 2 or 3 lettering projects to post it. Sometimes just one, but I just really respect myself. I think this is the most important thing.
Okay, so Shie, what's your opinion on that? Share your motivations. How do you create art every day, not just for the clients, but just for yourself and for your followers who follow you on Instagram and elsewhere?
Just like Jessica and Marques, I had a lot of everyday creation during my first year. It's because I had a lot of free time before, and part of my goal was to create a follower base and a client base. And then afterwards, when I got when I got both, so projects came in, and so I didn't have that a lot of motivation anymore to create everyday art to post on my Instagram. And then I felt I felt the pressure on creating every day, that I told myself, like what Marques said, you know, you should respect yourself. If you feel like you cannot post anything, then you don't have to post anything, because you have work to do. You have to create profit for yourself, especially with this design and art thing that we're doing. So we have to prioritize that first. And then doing art every day, I think it's basically fitting with what is happening right now, and everything is stopped. So I think this is the moment when we can create every day, I guess, and then probably try to influence other people and create positivity. So not every day. It depends on society, and it depends on what is happening. But on a normal day, it's actually more about work. That sometimes you cannot post about it due to confidential issues. So maybe you can just post once or twice a week. With mine, I post only like once a week, so that's like 4 times a month. So yeah.
Okay, so we have got one more question from Elri here. Let me ask this question to Marques first. What advices can you give on having to work full time and starting as a freelancer on the side, and managing your time while doing the same, and managing your sanity, and while at the same time developing your skills as an artist?
Well, I think I said this here before, but I do believe if you're doing some work, if you're practicing or something, if you're doing something related with what you're focused on as an artist, it's just a plus, because you're like doing so many different projects that you first getting portfolio for your freelance work, or whatever. But like, if you are working as a freelancer in a different field of your artist side, you can use your artist moment to just relax and keep your mind more creative, and getting out from your bubble of work and doing something fun. I started like that. I use it just to do like a graphic design project, and then I start doing with lettering, and until lettering became my full-time job, and then I started working as a freelance artist and graphic designer together. So it started just as a hobby, something to just have fun and like put my creativity in a different way, and then it became like my work.
Okay, so Shie, what's your opinion on this? I mean, what advices would you have to people who just want to work on full-time basis as well as manage their freelance career?
This is one of the things that I tried to discuss with my husband. I spent 10 years doing interior design profession, and then when I told him that I wanted to finally give a go ahead on this plan that I want to do, I told him I'll give my hands all cards on the deck. Whatever happens, I think it's because his support that made me realize that I want to do this. Whatever happens, I will work hard for this, and that I think it's the support of the people around you that will help you get the motivation. And at the same time, because you really want to do it, then you have to work hard for it, because you're going to stray away from your normal fixed income, and then you're gonna just have to let it all go to finally create your own freelance work or small business. And then along the way you'll have different trials and errors that you will take into account into learning and growing as an artist, as a designer, as a small business owner, as a creative entrepreneur. So all of those things that you will learn along the way, from the moment you started, from the moment you decided that you will leave your full-time job into becoming this kind of freelance artist, all of those you have to be fully decided that you really want to do it, because you have to. This is a big risk. I'm not trying to frighten you or what, but it's from what I experienced. I left my full-time job. I have a one daughter with me that I'm taking care at home. So managing my time, and at the same time trying to get clients so I can build profit from what I do, and trying to convince my husband that I left this because for this. So all of it, it has to be worth it at the end and along the way.
That's correct. That sounds great. So, Jessica, what's your advice, on for people who wish to manage their full-time work profile and also work on the sidelines as a freelancer? How to balance out the time there and at the same time learn at both the jobs?
So I still work full-time, not doing illustration. So I do this still on the side, and I think that I think it's I personally get a lot of energy from it. So maybe I'm gonna talk not about the daily post because that now is a bit like in my routine, but I always think of new projects that I want to do with Vanilla Cool Dance or new things that I want to do. And when I come up with that, then I have so much energy from it. So I find that at the end of a long day of work, I'm so excited to work on it that it actually gives me energy as opposed to taking energy from me. And I think, from my experience, it depends on what the project is. So if it's a really big endeavor, then maybe that feeling lasts for a few months, and then all of a sudden you hit a wall. And then, I was working on a project and I was going and so energized every day after work, spending a few hours on it. And then I hit a wall and didn't touch it for 6 months. So I think I also have forgiven myself for things like that. And now I've picked it back up again because things at work slowed down and I was feeling creative again. But I think it's just, I can't speak to doing it full time. But just make sure that whatever you're doing is adding more energy to your life as opposed to taking energy. And it's something that you feel that you can commit to, because I think that when people sometimes go out on their own for certain things, it's for something that, maybe you think, oh, this would be fun. But, once it becomes your job also, then it is becoming your source of income, and it may not only be fun all the time. And so I think you have to really find something that you love and you want to stick with to make it worth,
All right, guys. So I think you got your answers there through the experience of these three wonderful ladies. So, all right, that brings us to the end of this Power Pack discussion with our panelists, Jessica, Marques, and Shie. This was indeed a value-packed discussion where we touched upon a lot of issues the artists face and a lot of the first-hand challenges that these panelists shared with you and how they overcame them. Although there's a lot more that we could have discussed, but unfortunately we are limited by time here. I hope you guys loved this session. Once again, I would like to thank you guys for taking our time today to be part of WTF 20. Thanks, guys. If you want to say goodbye to the audience, please go ahead.
Oh, really nice to discuss everything with you, to understand the doubts of the people here. So it was really nice. So thank you for the invitation. It was really
Thanks, Marques.
Yeah, thank you guys. Really enjoyed also meeting the two lovely ladies I'm speaking with now. And thank you for your time. And I also got a lot out of it. So I hope you did as well.
Thank you guys for spending time with us. We can all meet together, maybe through Instagram, share our works there, and thank you again.
Okay, guys, this is not where it ends. We have a lot more for the day. The next session we have is a keynote speech by Jessica on the topic Life is a Comic, developing strong observational skills for the doodling. So if you guys have not registered as of now, I'm putting the link in the chat section to register now, and we'll see you there. You can also join our WhatsApp group to stay updated with events like these. I'm dropping the link of our WhatsApp group also in the chat section. You can suggest us the ideas you want the AMAs, workshops, and the keynote speeches and these panel discussions about. To watch this session and the entire WTF, subscribe to our channel, YouTube channel, Designhill Official, which I'm dropping the link of as well in the chat section. So bye-bye, everyone. Maintain physical distancing. Take care of yourself. Bye.